we were joking that it was our song, so we found an acoustic version of it. And that is not a song you can listen to an acoustic version to without either cringing or laughing hysterically.
Right.
It's amazing.
Is it because of the way they pronounce the words?
It's just, you don't realize how dirty it is when they're rapping it.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's just spoken by a white guy with a guitar, you're like, oh!
Ed Sheeran was not built to sing this song.
Exactly. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Union Fitness Podcast. As usual, I am Jared, one of your hosts, and with me here is...
Kurt Alert with the revamped
Take
14-inch bicep.
Take
catching
my
up, coming in strong.
It's kind of like a garter snake, not quite a python yet.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, like
is that how far we want to
snake.
go?
Yeah.
A gardener snake?
Garter snake, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, hey, at least I'm a living thing.
You level up to like black snake, then rattlesnake.
I'll take
Dude,
that.
black snakes are fucking scary.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah.
We
They're
saw
long.
2 of them on the Gap Trail, and I was like, ah!
I mean, let's
But
be
I would
honest,
have done the same thing for the gardener snake.
When I was
Yeah,
like 4, I
any-
used to
any
catch
type of
them and
snake.
run around with them, and
See-
it'd be like walking a dog
I
so
didn't
little.
hang out with kids like you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I didn't have friends like
You're
you,
a
man.
psychopath.
Yeah.
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 I used to catch snakes all the time. I'd go to my grandma's house. She lived out in the woods in like Johnstown. And I'd catch like a 5-foot black snake by the tail, and it'd be like slithering away. And I'd just like walk it like a dog. Then I'd pull it up and grab its head and be like, "Look, Dad, look what I got." He'd be like, "Nice."
I imagine baby Jared, but like his arms are the same size they are now.
Right.
That means I could probably walk on my hands like an ape.
Yeah, like that's how I imagine. Like as you're like cartoon snake is like choking, as you think you're holding it delicately because you don't know your own strength.
Yeah.
You're just like
Yeah.
choking out this poor snake.
I used
bet-
to get bit all
I
the
bet that's
time
how
too.
happened. It still did it. Still did it.
That's insane.
Speaking of snakes,
Yeah.
what do we got on the agenda today?
So first things first, we got to do a.
That was a worse joke than what you made before we started the show.
So we're gonna check in with Josh, see how his programming's going.
Woohoo!
Fill the people in a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we'll get into our main topic of first powerlifting meets.
Yeah,
Oh, we're kicking it off with me.
Yeah, we're gonna
Kicking
kick
it off with you.
Yeah, we're gonna kick it off with you. Then what we're gonna get into? Obviously, we have a meet coming up in 4 weeks. The little less than 4 weeks, the Kabuki Open. This will be our second annual Kabuki Open held here at Union Fitness.
Woohoo!
It's gonna be bigger and better than ever.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be 100 lifters, 1 day, 2 platforms, at the same damn time. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man. You know, we got, I was talking to Doug, who is the organizer, meet director.
They
and
run
he-
great meets, by the way.
Yeah, they do really good meets. Yeah, he's got some great ideas going forward that can't really talk about yet. But it's, you know, Pittsburgh is going to be rocking and rolling with some awesome powerlifting meets coming up in the
Hell
very near
yeah.
future. I mean, we already are.
Yeah.
Somebody
Right.
needs to tell Doug that we'll do the stream.
Yeah.
We're clear
Yeah.
that day, so
Doug, if you're listening, we would like to do a live stream of the meet.
just do it
Pretty please.
telepathically.
This gentleman, Josh,
Doug,
right here.
Doug, we
But,
will stream the meet.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about how to start and how to get into your first powerlifting meet if you're on the fence.
Yep.
But before that, we're gonna start with Josh. I saw this man in action the other night.
I did too.
He was benching his butt off, man.
He was using the SSB when I was in there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
I
you
saw him-
guys
I
saw
him using
day.
the,
You saw day 1. He saw day 2.
Yeah, I saw him using the
Perfect.
football bar. So it's really
Yeah.
cool. How's everything going?
You know, it's interesting. The first go through of the workout, the first day was crippling. That SS is like we talked about last time. The safety squat bar has no friends.
None.
It is not your friend. Round 2 went much smoother. I said to you after I gotten through 90% of the workout, I said it was too light. Like I need to go
Yeah.
up and wait. And I think I'm still figuring out that part of it. And I'm looking at the programming here now. Does week 3, is it the same? Yeah. Okay. So hopefully by week 3 I'll have this kind of zeroed in on weight. Because like, so I figured out this week that like standing medicine ball, chest press, like we don't have one heavy enough for it
Sure.
to be difficult, right?
And that's where, like, with a lot of exercises you do, like, you get out of it what you put into it.
Sure.
So if you're thinking about smashing somebody's face with that ball,
Yeah.
You're going to apply a lot more force to it
Sure.
and get more out of it.
Sure.
But Josh would never do that. So.
No,
It's
too
really
kind.
funny because I
Too
was
kind.
really mad at somebody when we started that
Oh,
workout.
perfect.
And I didn't even like realize that was the beginning of the workout. I just took it and walked outside and started whipping it against the wall. And then
That's awesome.
Anastasia trained with me that day, and she's like, "Actually, that's the start of the workout." And I'm like, "Good,
That's
one set down."
I
Isn't it
knew that's
interesting?
what you needed. That's why we programmed.
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how you go from 1 week to the next, and you notice how much adaptation you get just from starting the new program? Like at first
Yeah.
you're like dying, second time you're like, oh, I need to go up.
Yeah. It's go up and what, like, I think part of it too, and I think a lot of people are probably gonna relate to this, like the kettlebell swing. You guys are like 50 or 60 pound, and I'm like looking at the thing, like that won't even fit between my legs, let alone me fucking swing it. And then I had it like this week, just going like a fucking clock, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what the?
Yeah.
Like, I would have never imagined when I started working out that I would need anything that big. And even, like, I like to use the fat bells when I do the incline dumbbell bench press.
Sure.
And, like, I'm using the same ones Josh Conroy's using, and I'm not benching nearly what he's using. It's just like...
Josh, you hear that? It's time for us to step it up.
Yeah,
Come
there
on,
you
man.
go. There you go.
You can't out deadlift me like that.
But I just think it's been really interesting. And the movements, I think, have been so fascinating as far as not only the weight, but then what hurts the next day, or what's sore, what isn't sore. I have left hip issues that really seize up my back pretty badly. And through any of the workouts, I have not had hip issues or, felt sore or not, like, had a tight back the next day
Good.
at all.
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been really good
That's good.
through that. So, yeah, I think next week I'm hoping that, like, I have the weights down set, and I get through the third week in really good shape. And then the fourth week is the same. So then maybe by week 4, I'm like clicking and can really give you guys some good feedback as to what movements are helping, hurting.
Yeah.
I think that's been something. You guys have me using machines that I've never used before, not because I didn't want to, but because they look so complicated. And I didn't want to go fuck around and figure it out, like gym intimidation kind of feeling. You know what I mean? But when it's programmed, you're like forced to go figure that shit out, right? It's been really.
Or you can send a text message and say, "Hey, fellas, how do I adjust this one?"
I'm way too proud to do that. I'm way too proud to admit I don't know how to use
Understood.
something. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm an
I
undefeated
get, like-
power lifter. Are you?
Right.
And I. And I
Does
don't
it
know how
count-
to
does-
use this machine.
Does it count if you've done 16 meets?
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many meets you've done. It matters
You're
how many
either
you've
undefeated or
lost
you're
or
not.
won.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's like if you're a baseball player and you go to bat once in the whole season.
Yeah, and you
get a
bat
base hit.
1,000.
Dog, I bat 1,000 this season.
Yep.
Yep.
And you're not wrong.
Undefeated.
Two things that you kind of touched on. The length of a particular, what we call a block of training. So you notice that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the same exercises. For a majority of people, especially people who aren't high-level athletes, it takes longer with...
What are you saying, Kurt?
You know exactly what I'm saying. For most people, I would say 70-80% of people who work out or train, it's going to take at least 4 weeks to get the adaptation and the response from a particular movement or exercise.
Interesting.
I have some people that I work with that it's 6, sometimes even 8 weeks if they're newer, because everything is new to their body, and they can do that. Remember when we just starting out lifting, you could do the same stuff
Yeah.
day after day, week after week, and still get better.
Yeah.
It's because it was so new to our bodies, and we were continuing to get a response from it. As you get more experience and your training age increases, that time frame, when you need to rotate exercises and movements in and out, is going to be like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes some people even like 3 weeks. These really, really high level power lifters,
Yeah.
they'll alternate, I should say, every other week or every third week. So it's very interesting. But for you getting back in the swing of things, we're probably going to go 4 to 6 weeks. The other thing, real quick, progression, how to progress week to week, doesn't always have to be weight. And I think a lot of people think that each week we got to add 2.5 more pounds or 5 more pounds or 10 more pounds. That progress and that overload, we should say, can come in an extra 2 reps, adding in an extra set, decreasing your rest period. So if week 1 you have to rest 2 minutes in between sets, and then week 2 you're only resting a minute and a half, that's us getting better. That's progression right there. So if something feels challenging weight wise for a certain exercise, for a certain workout, certain week, stick with it for the next exercise or for the next training session, and say, man, I'm going to add 1 or 2 reps, see how it feels, or I'm going to shorten my rest period, see how I recover in between, and see how that affects my next set, things like that. And you can kind of, once you get used to that, you'll be able to have a good gauge on when it's time to progress in weight, when it's time to progress in reps or add a set and things like that. So it's just a big learning opportunity.
So I have 2 questions. One, I'm not using the prescribed rest period.
Okay.
I just burn through it.
Okay.
That's just how I train though too. Like even when I was doing powerlifting, I wanted the weight on the bar like within 30 seconds because I felt warm, I felt locked in, I wanted to go again. So the rest period thing I think is a little different. The other thing is about changing the weight. So let's say I'm doing the row. Okay, this happened, or even the lat pull downs, that kind of stuff. I put it on, let's say 110. Okay. Oh, that was fucking easy. So for set 3, or for set 2, I go up 1. Set 3, I go up 1. Is that bad?
Nope.
No,
that's fine. As
That's
long
fine.
as you remember where you left off last time, maybe.
Yeah,
Right,
and
okay.
kind of use that as a gauge for yourself too. Like
Right.
if you're consistently going up each set, like on your next time you do that training session or whatever, just start at a heavier weight.
Right.
Yeah.
And get more out of it.
Yeah.
So for an example, if you go set 1, 110, set 2, 120,
Yeah.
set 3, 130, and you find like, okay, 130's pretty freaking good. Then the next session, start at 130 and try to hit all your 3 or 4 sets at that same weight.
Great.
Sometimes what you're going to find is by the time you get to set 3 and 4, it starts to get really hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's a good gauge for you
Cool.
right there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then by the time we talk next time, I will have completed the first 4 weeks.
Okay. Awesome.
So we'll do
Perfect.
that. I kind of was spacing them out a little bit so that we could do the first week. We did the big, the video and everything. And then the second week, I wanted to be able to talk about it once I was done with it. And it wasn't like, a week late. And then, so
Yeah. No,
I'll
that's
start
awesome.
burning through 2 at a
Perfect.
time then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Very
Awesome.
cool.
I'm
Very
glad
cool.
you're feeling good doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
it's been the 45 minutes it takes to do the workout is perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's enough time that I can get in there, blow off some steam, and then still get my half-hour cardio in on a treadmill or go for a walk or a run or something like that. That has just been super awesome because I think like part of what always killed me about doing powerlifting is you never had time to go do cardio. And then you had to take special day just to do cardio or time out to do cardio or did cardio in the morning. It's like when I go to the gym, I just want to get in there, throw some shit around, work out for an hour and a half max, including cardio.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
for
that
sure.
has just, I think, has been super awesome. So
Yeah, awesome. We'll keep that going.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, we're going to throw in some different movements at some point. And if anything doesn't feel right,
yeah,
like you're just doing it and you're like, man, I'm not about this, that you let us know.
Yeah.
Like,
We can
you-
change it.
And that's the
immediately.
same with anybody listening. Like just because if you download a program or look up a workout and it says do this, if you're not feeling a certain exercise, like it legitimately doesn't feel good or it flares something up or you don't have to do it. There's ways around everything and there's variations
Yeah.
for every movement possible.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and we've had this conversation 1,000 times on this podcast is what is muscle strain, what hurts? And like every time I get under the safety squat bar, after I'm done with it, my hamstrings are like, why did we do that? And I'm like,
Right,
shut
right.
up, legs. Like, that's
Yeah.
like, but it's always
Yeah.
walking that line. And especially
Sure.
if you're switching sports or movements
Mm-hmm.
dramatically or whatever, and something starts to hurt that you're not used to hurting, and like trying to get your brain to do that mental check, like, did I hurt myself
Mm-hmm.
or did I strain it? And that was like, I walked that thin line on the abductor, because like on the last one I just like put everything into it, and then when I got off of it I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then like throughout the week it was like some other things were not normal, and I was like, oh, did I fuck something up? Now it was like, no, you just engaged a muscle you haven't engaged in a long time, or
Yeah,
at least
for
with
sure.
that stress level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
We'll
before we
keep
get
it
too
rolling.
far off this topic, we were talking about adaptation, and it takes like 4 to 6 weeks, like with your exercises and stuff. And since we're going to get into first powerlifting meets, I think one thing that a lot of new lifters, especially in the social media era, need to hear is that means that the only thing you should be doing if you plan on powerlifting is squatting, benching, and deadlifting. You don't need to do fancy variations of
Yeah.
each thing. Your body needs to actually learn how to do the movements, and to do that appropriately, you need to squat like just a normal squat. You need to do normal bench pressing, and you need to do normal deadlifting.
Yeah.
You don't need to be doing crazy block pulls and
Yep.
SSB, chain, pause squats, all this crazy stuff. You need to actually, learn how to do the movements and build those up, and then eventually start incorporating other things.
When Curtis was talking about when you're starting a sport and you remember how it felt, I wanted to jump in and be like, yeah, I had to squat for like 6 months before I could actually fucking squat.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I still
For sure.
can't bench right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
amen
mean-
to that.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a football. It's like
No, I can do that.
hitting a baseball.
No,
you know?
I can do that.
Right. But there was a time that you probably couldn't do it that well. Yes.
It's a
No,
long
nobody,
time
nobody,
ago.
nobody comes out of the womb just slinging a 60-yard touchdown pass or hitting a ball
Maybe Tom
400
Brady.
feet. Maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know if his arm strength was there,
Yeah.
but
But
Yeah.
the completion percentage
percentage
in
was there.
preschool was off the charts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So no, it takes thousands and thousands of repetitions.
Yeah.
Of specificity, meaning being specific with the competition movements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, to what you were saying, people jump in a little deep too soon as far as variations and exercises and things like that. So be specific, learn how to walk before you can run. It's kind of one thing we were going to touch on.
Yeah.
So, we're going to go right into it. We're talking about getting into powerlifting. Now,
Don't do it.
my first tip, don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, do it. It's a lot of fun, man.
It is.
It's taught me a lot about myself, others, life, things like that. It's all around. If you take it for what it is, you'll learn a lot, and it'll help you grow as a person. And
Yeah.
you'll meet a lot of really cool people in the process, and you'll see what you're made of. Set goals, crush them, things like that. Now, when I started powerlifting, I think we started around the same time. I don't know. I did my first meet in 2013.
Yeah, I was 15? 14, 15? I think 15.
Okay. Yeah. So when I first started, I mean, YouTube was a thing. Instagram was not. I think when I first started getting
You were
into
just like
powerlifting-
MySpacing all the
or
lifters.
maybe
It was.
Instagram
It
first
was.
started. Yeah.
It was, but we were all still just taking pictures of our food
Yeah.
and thinking that was Instagram.
Did it even have
Yeah.
videos? Could you do a
No.
video? Right.
Not
Yeah.
off the drop. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the knowledge that I was finding for powerlifting was coming from websites. It was coming from Elite FTS. It was coming from Westside Barbell's website. It was coming from their books, their ebooks, things like that. And online coaching wasn't really a thing. If you wanted to really learn from somebody, you were either calling them or you were driving to see them. You were taking road trips on the weekends to go learn from somebody. And I think people are very fortunate now. They don't have to do that if they don't want to. I do think that that is still one of the superior ways of learning. You know, like with physical therapy, you want to learn and be the best physical therapist, you're going to travel and be around the people that can best get you there. With doing your podcast and growing, you do your own thing and you learn for yourself. No, I'm kidding.
I didn't Google any of this.
But you know, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So it was a little different when we started, but the same things kind of apply. I think the first thing is do a little bit of research, find out what powerlifting actually is. When I go talk to somebody and they're like, "Hey, what sport do you do?" And I'm like, "Powerlifting." "Oh, so you do this." I'm like, "Olympic weightlifting." Or like, "Oh, you get greased up and you shave." Bodybuilding. What is powerlifting then? Most people don't know what powerlifting is. You know, it's kind of underground. It's just not popular. So find out what it is before you get into it. Go online. There's, Google or go on YouTube, powerlifting rules. And they're going to show you the squat, the bench press, the deadlift, and all the rules with it.
The way I describe it to people is it's when you pick something up and put it right back where you found it.
100%.
Yeah.
Which a lot of
So
people...
cleaning.
Yeah, which a lot of people
Yeah.
can't do.
They're
in
really
a
good
gym.
at chores.
You know how many people wouldn't be good at powerlifting because they can't pick up something and put it back down
Back where they
came
found it? You
from?
mean when the weights are left out? And
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was a good joke. That one was fun. I like that joke.
Man, I've worked in a gym for like 14 years. I can talk about that. The next thing is find a meet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one of the biggest things that I hear people say is, well, I'm going to wait to do a meet until I'm ready.
Or I'm not strong enough
I'm
to
not
compete.
strong enough to do a meet
Yeah.
yet. I'm not competitive in my weight class. I will say it's very frustrating, but I'm learning over time that the people who say that just don't know any better yet.
And they're also on social media comparing themselves to the
Yes.
top 1% of people who are
Exactly.
like gunning for world records and stuff
Exactly.
like that. And that's what their comparison is.
I was talking to one of our members yesterday, and she is very strong. She has a 700-pound total, and I think she weighs like 130 or something like that. And she said that she's not competitive enough in her weight class, so she wants to cut down to the next weight class. And I was like, what's the goal of powerlifting? To lift as much as you can. And I go, so would you rather lift, let's say 750 at the next weight class up, or would you rather lift, 675 or 700 at one weight class down?
Yeah.
And when I said that, I could tell she initially wanted to say lift less at a lower weight class.
Mhm.
But in her mind, she knew that it made sense to lift more weight to
Yeah.
be the strongest you could. So, I think that... Where was I even going with that?
I don't know. We
We're
were
just-
talking
where was I
about
going with that?
people.
They just don't feel like they're strong enough
They're
to
strong
compete.
Yes,
enough. They're
thank
not
you.
ready.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And it's because they compare it to the top,
Yeah.
the most popular people on social media who have been doing it forever.
Do you want to know what another really good way to feel ready is? To put the money down on the meet and
Oh,
the
yeah.
hotel room. You
Oh, yeah.
feel ready real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When
That's
it leaves your
actually-
bank account, you're like, well,
Yeah.
I'm doing it
I'm
now.
doing
Yeah.
it now.
That's actually one thing I tell people to do, whether it's powerlifting or a 5K. They're like, man, I'm just not, motivated for anything. And I'm like, sign up for an event. It can be the simplest, silliest thing ever. And write it on your calendar and pay for it if you pay for it. If not, just write it on your calendar and look at it. You'd be surprised how ready you get when you're signed up for it, when you're paid for it, when you got the hotel, the accommodations, everything. That's a great way to get ready.
Yeah.
But I think you just need to go do it.
Yeah, I think so I think the expectation of a powerlifting meet is that you're there to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go in to win. And the reality is that
We
you're
can't
going
all
there.
be me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And nor do we all want to.
No.
But you go into a powerlifting meet with goals, right? And your goals are to like set new maxes, have a big total, whatever, like do the best you can do that day. You're there to beat yourself. And nobody like in your weight class or in a higher or lower weight class is like out to get you. In fact, like, the big super heavyweight guy who's about to squat 900 pounds is still yelling for you when you're squatting 100 pounds, like
100%.
because he knows or she knows that it's your, like you're giving it your all out there, same as they are, and everybody there gets just as hyped for you, and you need to be able to get just as excited for yourself. Like you're there to do the best that you can, and you're there to test yourself, and it's like the coolest atmosphere because of that. Like yeah, you're competing, but the reality is that everybody's there to just like test themselves, do the absolute best that they can, and everybody knows that because everybody worked hard for that goal.
Well, I think one thing that people forget is that regardless of if you've been doing it for 1 year or 10 years, everybody starts at the same place. Yeah. Everybody starts not knowing what powerlifting is, not knowing how to powerlift, and not feeling like they're strong enough to compete. And then time goes on, and you step on the platform and you do your first meet, then your second, then your third. Nobody's out there judging anybody.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's actually the coolest lifts I've ever seen at powerlifting meets are from first timers.
Oh yeah.
They're the most fun to watch.
Still shout out to Carlin on the push pull when he grinded out that deadlift.
It
was one of the best deadlifts
one of the greatest deadlifts I've ever seen in my life. 100%.
It was amazing.
Never stopped. And that's the beauty of the sport. And it's very easy when you see the big time powerlifting meets and the big time bodybuilding shows, and you think that's how every single one of them are, you know, and it's just not. So I could see where that throws people off course a little bit or makes them hesitant to really get into it.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest pieces of advice I have for people is to go check out a meet.
Yeah.
Find local meets. Like go on usapl.com or go on uspa.com or anything like that. Look at the list, find a local meet, and just go check it out. And I guarantee your perception of what a powerlifting meet is really going to change.
Or come to the Kabuki Open.
Come to the Kabuki Open, exactly. But remember how cool it was when we had the push-pull and we had a bunch of people do it. And they were like, wait, this is how a powerlifting meet is? And then some of those people, I'm not going to say a majority, but quite a few of those people signed up for the Kabuki Open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes it either takes just seeing it or getting a little taste of it. And then you're like, man, that was a lot of fun. I really want to go try it out. And I that's the biggest thing. Find a meet, sign up, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Put it on calendar, write it down. Biggest thing.
I will say that didn't work for me. I signed up and didn't train and showed up for my first one.
Oh, we got one of those guys.
Win?
I didn't. I got second in my weight class. I didn't know what to expect or what to do or whatever. So I showed up and I was like, I'm gonna run into a buzzsaw on my way. Like these guys are gonna be ridiculous and all this stuff. And you show up and like the first thing we're warming up for squats and these big dudes are like, hey, you want to work in with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. It was like real cool, and then everybody's like getting hyped for me. I was like, oh, this is real cool. So by the time I get to deadlifts, it was like the most exciting atmosphere ever because everyone was just so nice the whole day.
Well, bench is so boring.
Bench is so boring.
Everybody's like, squat, everybody's fired up in the morning, then everybody kind of goes to sleep during bench unless like something really cool happens, and then deadlift, and then it's like the main event.
Yeah, like Young Jeezy comes on the radio and everybody goes crazy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. When you hear put on, and everybody goes nuts, they're like, it's time to deadlift.
Yep.
Everybody all of a sudden is from some big city.
It always is put on too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, I gotta represent my city. I'm like, man, I got 1,000 people in my hometown. You think they care about me right now? Besides my parents? No.
That's Kurt. He can lift the front end of a car for me while I change the tire.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So we have find a meet.
Yep.
Research the rules. Then you want to make sure you research the necessary equipment that you have to wear. You can't roll up. The first powerlifting meet I ever went to with a friend, a guy named Jeff Calloway. We went to watch him lift, and he shows up in his T-shirt and his shorts. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm here for a powerlifting meet. They're like, where's your singlet? He's like, a singlet? We didn't know.
Yeah.
And luckily they had a spare one, and it was all yellow. Looked like a giant banana up there.
That's awesome.
But so know that you have to get a singlet, right? You don't have to wear a belt, but as you start getting stronger, pushing the weights, a belt is beneficial if you know how to use it correctly, like we talked about in one of our podcasts. Footwear is one of the most important things. I see a lot of people sometimes show up to meets in like running shoes, and You can get away with it for a little bit when you're, first getting into it, but you're going to find that you have trouble with stability and balance when you really start getting some weight on the bar for squatting and deadlifting and things like that. So find the right shoes for you, and they don't have to be expensive. You don't need a $200 pair of Olympic weightlifting heeled shoes.
You can get like cheap knockoff Vans for like $20.
Vans, Chucks sometimes.
Steel toe work boots.
Even like these.
Have you lifted in those?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, when I landscaped, I would just show up in my dad's
In your
basement with
fucking
my work
boots.
boots, and that's what
They
I would
better have
work out
been
in.
Timberlands, the butter ones with the tag, with the leather
Oh,
tag.
heck
still
no,
on.
dude. I'm not spending that kind of money on boots when I'm landscaping. God, no.
That was my friend always used to come right from work, he just would sometimes forget to put other shoes in his cars, and he would lift in his dress shoes.
Duh.
And
Man.
then became addicted to the heeled shoe to squat in.
I was going to say, dress shoes have a very hard heel. Are they ideal? No, because
No.
they really squeeze
It's
your
better
foot.
than a
but
lot of things.
it's
Yeah.
better
For
than,
squatting.
like your normal tennis shoes,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say.
for sure.
But yeah, Tegan did
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
I remember him doing that.
We make fun of him all the time, and then he was like, "This is actually helping my squat." Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay." Well,
That's
shit.
funny. Well, really, the only thing that you need is a singlet.
Yeah.
Right? There's
Socks.
Deadlift
yeah,
socks,
Yeah, you're gonna need.
But
you're
that
gonna need
matter. You
socks.
can't show up with ankle socks.
Well, some federations you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
But-
I mean, I know that is a rule
Yeah.
that people get in trouble for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have tall socks that cover your shins, and the USAPO and the USPA and maybe a couple other ones, you can't compete for deadlifting.
Ladies
Yeah.
have to watch what their bra's made of.
The supportive materials.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
things like
dudes
that.
either have to go commando or you got to wear tighty whities.
Tighty
Yeah,
whities.
for some
Right,
federations.
right,
Yep,
right,
definitely.
right.
So know your rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
Know what federation you're lifting in, and look up the rules.
But you can spend like minimal money on equipment
Yeah.
to compete. Like
Yeah.
belt, you don't need an expensive belt. If you want a belt, you can get, like, I think my singlet was $35. It was a
Uh-huh.
Brute wrestling singlet. It's approved. It's fine. So I think I spent $35 on that. As we said, shoes, you can get cheap shoes. $20 for a pair of just like knockoff Vans that'll work for squatting and deadlifting. Get a cheap pair of soccer socks for deadlifting. You can wear any shoes when you squat. Or socks when you squat. And then if you want wrist wraps, you can get some cheap wrist wraps out there for like benching and stuff.
Then you got to
but-
start. The second you start adding gear, you
Yeah.
got to watch what you're buying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the rules though. They tell
It
you what's
is,
approved.
But like I think that's something that was explained to me at an early point in powerlifting is like, you don't need any of this shit. Like what you're doing is not going to be a weight where you need to start worrying about this shit.
Mhm.
A belt is good. Everything else, you don't really need wrist wraps. You don't really need sleeves or anything like that. And explaining it to me that this, like, the worst thing is if you've been training with these fucking wraps for weeks and then you get there and find out that they're not approved
Right.
and then you got to do them without them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah.
The other thing for making you feel like you're ready, and I think we're going to get into this maybe next year a little bit later, if you have training partners, everybody go get the same shit. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You look the same. You feel like a team. It helps you stay motivated, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I think what you don't want to do is buy too much equipment.
Yep.
And going back to seeing a lot of things on Instagram, you see lifters representing the highest quality wrist wraps and the highest quality belts and the highest quality knee sleeves and whole outfits.
Oh, they're matched.
Shirts, shorts, socks, everything. Dude, please don't. Please don't. You don't need that, and you're just looking to spend a bunch of money that you don't really need to spend.
Yeah, it's not gonna give you
Um,
50 pounds on your total.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
But
So,
if it gives you confidence, I guess.
find a meet, research the rules, get your equipment, the equipment you need. All right. Then what I'm going to go into is more of the training. This is where people start panicking, right? I'm signed up for a meet, my first meet. I got to do the best I can. I need the best program. I need the best coach.
Gotta test my maxes.
Got to test my maxes. And you don't need the best program. You don't need the best coach. When I first started training, you talked about it too, training in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were going down there. When I was getting ready for my first meet, I had one other training partner. And neither one of us, all we did was like read Elite FTS articles. We didn't have coaches. We weren't on a specific program. We went into the meet, we learned, and then we progressed from there. That meet that you do, the first one, tells you a lot about what you need to do going forward. That's your learning experience right there. And that's why you don't want to wait until you're ready or strong enough to do a meet, because that is a whole year, 2, 3 years sometimes, that's missed learning opportunity and experience.
On your first meet is never, like, I don't want to say it's never great, but like there's so much involved in a meet that you can't put all your eggs in one basket kind of.
Yeah.
Your first meet is a huge learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, you set goals. You have to have goals going into your first meet. You can't just say, whatever I lift, right? You got to understand, like, what am I realistically capable of in this amount of time? And you give yourself kind of a range, right? I want to aim in here. And your first goal for that first meet is to hit all your lifts. Whatever you want, if you take 9 attempts, you want to try to get all 9 lifts. Now, it's not always going to happen, and it doesn't always happen, especially for your first meet, because you miss commands, or you miss depth, or you don't lock the weight out correctly on a deadlift. It's not necessary that you make all 9 lifts, but I think that should be one of your goals. And doing that, you'll stay on the conservative side with your numbers that you select. And I think you don't want to go into the meet saying, I have to hit this weight, I have something to prove, so I got to attempt this weight. I think that's the wrong approach for a first meet.
Yeah, I agree.
So, when it comes to the training, it doesn't have to be the best programming. You don't need a coach. I think a lot of people kind of just jump on the coaching bandwagon, and then they miss out on opportunity to learn, right? Because if you have somebody, now we both have coaches, right? Yeah. We've been, but there was a long time we didn't have coaches.
Yeah.
We kind of learned through our own mistakes and trial and error.
Yep.
But if you have somebody every single day that just tells you what to do, you open up a document or a spreadsheet or whatever, and it says, do this, 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 and this much weight, this many reps, and you never ask a question. And you go to the meet and you do well, and then you do a couple other meets and you do well, maybe you don't. When it's all said and done, looking back, what did you learn from that? You learned how to go in and train and do what you were told to do. But how can you apply any of that to yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So making mistakes is part of the process, and putting something on the bar, doing it for a certain amount of reps or doing a certain exercise, and finding out that you could have done it better, or maybe it could have been much worse. Like, that's the experience.
Yeah. And it's always fun too, like learning. Like, you have a lot of freedom when you don't have a coach too, so you kind of figure out, like as Josh was talking about, he finds it interesting, like after he's done with each exercise, like what he felt that day, and you get to kind of like learn that about yourself, like what's strong, what's not, and you don't have to have necessarily somebody there like trying to pick it apart for you. You can kind of figure it out and feel it out for yourself, and then once you feel like you have a good grasp of what your body can and can't do, and you've competed once or twice and feel like you're ready for a decent amount of help to like really push yourself to be stronger, then I think that's a great time to get a coach.
Yeah.
But it's important to learn your own body first.
Definitely.
And how you move, and yeah.
Definitely. I think one of the better things you can do too is train with somebody else. Like, some of the best training sessions I've ever had are when you're just sitting there looking at your training partner and you're like, what are we doing today?
Yep.
I don't know. What do you want to do? Let's squat. What are we working up to? I don't know. Let's put some weight on the bar, see how we feel warming up, and let's go from there. I mean, at a certain point, that's fine. When you're starting out, like, that's all you need. And just going back and forth, the two of you pushing each other, bouncing ideas off of each other, like, that goes so far.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad when I walk into a weight room and let's say there's 8 squat racks and there's 8 people.
Each on a squat rack.
Each on their own squat rack. That I understand, like, times are a little different now. There's a lot going on. You know, maybe some people don't want to be that close with somebody. But, man, if you walk in and there's somebody on a piece of equipment and they are about to start doing what you're doing, the best thing you can do is walk up and see if you can work together.
Yeah, it's fun working with people. I love it.
I mean, you learn so much from each other and you push each other. You develop new friendship relationship.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things is find a training partner, find 2, 3, 4, whatever you need, and just roll with it.
Yeah.
You know, this one is a big one for me. It drives me crazy.
Wah, wah, wah.
Cutting weight. Cutting weight. Especially for somebody who's done 1 to 2 to 3. I mean, even 10 meets, like,
yeah.
Unless there is a specific reason you're trying to break an all-time world record or go for a competition win that is cash payout or a big qualifying event for a bigger meet, there's no reason you should be cutting weight.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about cutting weight.
Absolutely no reason, right? You hold yourself back when you decide to cut weight. You probably know better than I do the statistics of how much strength, the percentage of strength you lose based off of, you know, the percentage of weight, whether it's hydration, specifically in hydration.
There's a lot that goes on in your body depending on how much weight you're trying to cut and how you do it. There's a lot of really dumb ways to cut weight, like starving yourself or doing, 10 miles on the treadmill or the bike the night before you compete or, stuff like that. Like there are a lot of really dumb ways to do that stuff, and people do significantly dehydrate themselves before meets, and then try to they weigh in and then try to get it all back in real quick, especially on the 2-hour weigh-ins. That's tough. I mean, that's terrifying.
Bad idea.
You can really hurt yourself, and when your muscles aren't holding water, you actually put yourself at a risk for muscle tears.
Right. Exactly.
If you're dehydrated and trying to put maximum effort towards weights, I mean, it can be dangerous.
Yeah. So the last thing you want to do when you're doing a meet and you're thinking about your weight class is compare yourself to what others are lifting in your weight class. It doesn't matter what those people are lifting in your weight class.
You're there for you.
Yeah. Unless again, it's a big meet.
Or if you're Josh and you want to maintain your undefeated status.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting because I had picked my training partner and I was following all the rules that we set out. I followed perfectly. Didn't have a coach, was just kind of doing it, but had a program and, was changing things as needed, the whole 9 yards. But I picked my weight class based on my partner.
Ah, okay, cool.
Because he was lifting I think Joey's lifting at 180. And I was like, well, I was 180 in high school, and I'd really like to get down to 180, right?
Nice.
Dumb.
But the thing is that's not a bad mindset.
Yeah.
You weren't doing it because you wanted to. I got to get down in the 181 weight class so I can be competitive.
You wanted to be 180.
I wanted to be 180.
Right,
yeah.
and because he was 180.
Right, yeah. And then it became pretty obvious about a month out when I turned to him and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be 180. And we both kind of were borderline panicked as to whether or not I would even be allowed to compete or whatever, right?
Right.
And you call up and they're like, yeah, whatever you weigh in is what you compete at. And I'm like, oh,
no problem.
So I don't have to worry about cutting anything or worry about.
You don't have to make that weight.
No, I don't have to make that weight, and that's how I ended up winning because literally nobody else was in my weight class.
Right.
Nobody else did 220. You know what I mean? And that's just how it all ended up shaking out, which is just kind of I think a really interesting. I had a conversation with a young pit powerlifter coming in maybe about a month and a half ago, and CJ was at the front desk. And he didn't know that I was, anything to do with union. And I was walking in front of him and his training partner, girlfriend, whatever. And they're talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm cutting down. I'm going to win, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of shuttle up and hurry up and get into the gym, and I go behind the desk, and I say, CJ, we're going to educate this kid on why you shouldn't cut weight. And so the kid comes in. And we have a back and forth with him and his training partner for 5-10 minutes. And by the end of it, she's going, yeah, you shouldn't be cutting weight to him.
You just ruined that relationship.
Yeah, I know. But like, it was like CJ started off with, well, how far are you going to cut? And he was going to cut like 10 pounds or something crazy. Like a big cut.
That's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight.
I'm assuming not a large human.
And that was probably a 2-hour weigh-in, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
probably
they do the USAPL,
yeah.
And then, you know, I think the nail in the coffin was CJ was like, is this your first meet? And the kid's like, yeah.
Oh, boy.
And he's like, how long you been powerlifting? 3 months. And CJ laughed. And
He
then
probably-
that was
CJ
that was
did his
like,
whole, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Good luck, idiot. No,
Yeah.
but like I haven't seen the kid again, so I'm bummed. I wanted to know whether or not he cut her or what he
Yeah.
ended up doing, but
Now,
yeah, I think
here's
that's
the thing.
worst thing you can. That added pressure. Losing weight sucks. It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Dieting is hard.
Yeah,
And then you're gonna put that on top of starting a new fucking sport.
yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
do that.
Well, so 2 things. Remember what the goal of a powerlifting meet is. To lift the most that you can.
Yeah.
Right? Now, big competitions, sure, it might be to win. Right? But most meets to lift the most, as much weight as you can.
I have a question.
Sure.
You two are, we'll call the closest thing we have to pro available to us at this moment.
Mhm.
Have either of you gone into a meet expecting to win? And if so, how many times out of all of the meets you've done?
So my last meet that I did
Yeah.
was the second meet, actually, that I
You were like, I'm going to win.
I didn't say
wanna win.
I said I wanted to. I didn't say I wanted to. I said I had a good chance of
Okay.
winning, and I came in second.
So Curtis, who's done 16 powerlifting meets, is lifting more than any of us can ever dream of. Like, this is his life and shit. Said, I would like to win
Yeah,
on his 15th and 16th meet.
yeah,
Okay. You?
yeah.
I don't ever go in with the expectation of winning.
Uh-huh.
I'm a very competitive person, so I know if someone's close to me and I feel good, I'll try to edge them out. But outside of that, I never go in with like I expect to win this meet. I'm gonna kick everyone's ass
Okay.
mentality.
So there you
Now
go.
I will say, I'm doing a meet in November. That is a qualifier for one of the biggest meets in the country, and the top placers from the meet qualify for that meet, or depending on what your total is, depending on if you win or not. So like, this is a thing that after 16 meets and almost 10 years of competing, I'm finally getting into.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Which is awesome.
Sure, it feels
But
good.
You
It's
got
another
to that point.
right,
Yeah.
but that's never what my goal was.
Right.
My goal was always, if I could put 5 pounds on each lift, each meet, I knew that I was going to get better and that it was going to add up.
So if it's your first meet,
Yeah, yeah,
what do you think?
yeah,
Do the math.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you think about, so I've done 16 meets. My first meet, I totaled 1,300 pounds.
Uh-huh.
Now, I had the mindset that each meet I was going to put 5 pounds on each lift. And I never tallied it up. But 15, 16 meets later, if I did that, it would still be a lot. It would still be a huge improvement. Maybe not as much as I've gotten, because I think when you set your expectations there, that all you want to do is make some progress. And you know that it's going to take time and that this is something you're going to do for a while. If you're not going to do this for that long, for many years, if you just want to do it like, say, 5 times and be done, then sure. Start throwing all your eggs in one basket and start getting after it and set big goals. But I knew that I wanted to do this for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. And I knew that I had to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And that steady progression was going to get me there.
Yeah.
So you would have added 225 pounds to your total over 16 meets.
Which would have still been awesome.
1,500.
Yeah. Which would have still been very
Pretty good.
cool, right?
I think
Now,
I
here's the
added
thing.
300 some pounds to my total from my first meet to my
Yeah.
best one. Yeah.
Yeah, a majority, some people do more, some people do less. I've just been fortunate with trying to just stay consistent. I ended up putting 700 on my total. You know what I mean? But I think if I always overshot with what my goals were, I either got injured, got frustrated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it would have changed the trajectory of my success within the sport. So I think your mindset going into it starts with your very first meet.
Yeah.
Go in there and get experience.
Just have fun with it. I mean, you're there to have fun. You're there to lift weights.
Yep.
That's the whole point. That's why you sign up. It gives you a goal. For some people, it's for fitness. For some people, it's for something to do, a new hobby, a new sport. But the reality is you're there to have fun and do something that you enjoy. So go enjoy it. Don't make it stressful on yourself for no reason.
Don't add stress.
Yeah,
you
just
know what I mean?
go lift weights with your buddies, make new friends, and have a blast. That's what it's all about.
And come check out the meet.
Yeah.
September 11th. We're going to have, John selling T-shirts. We're going to have Fortifix, selling their really tasty bars.
They are tasty.
They are. We're gonna be raising money. Some of the money that we collect at the door is going to go to Veterans Place. I want to say like 50%.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so that'll be really, really cool. Come check out the meet. Get some ideas of how it operates. See how laid back and fun it is. Hopefully the weather will still be nice. It's that September weather. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're gonna have a big tent set up outside. Food, drinks. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, if you have any questions about it, grab one of us, ask us. We'll be able to walk you through everything. But to sum it all up, find a meet, check the rules, get your equipment, find some people to train with, do a little research on, what you need to be doing. Don't cut weight. And just try to go in there and set your goals accordingly and go 9 for 9. Stand up with all your lifts.
Have fun.
Have fun,
Eat,
man.
drink, and be excited.
Yeah, that's it. Anybody, you want to add anything? Josh, tell the people what to expect for their first meet.
You're going to be really sleepy.
During?
During, depending on how long it takes.
When you get that excited,
depending on how long it takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I did take a nap at one point in between bench and deadlift.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the best nap time.
I've never done that.
Yeah. Really?
No.
That's the best time to nap.
Yeah, I took a nap.
No, you're gonna
Sleepy.
You're gonna leave. You're gonna go in terrified, absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
You get that. You stand up with that first squat. The butterflies go away, and you're like, let's go, man. Let's do this. I'm ready for more. You get to deadlifts, you're going to be terrified again because it's the end of the meet and the crowd is going bonkers. And all they want to see you do is stand up with the weight. It doesn't matter if it's 135 or 500.
Yep.
They just want to see you stand up. And then when you put that bar down and you leave, you feel like you can go
You just conquer the world.
anything.
Yeah.
Conquer anything. It's the best confidence builder there is.
Josh Conroy conquered a very, very small personal pan pizza after.
And that's it. If you stand up with that last deadlift, you get your own pizza.
Yeah.
How about that? You can be on Josh's show.
Pizza.
Yeah, you can be on the show.
Pizza.
All right,
like
guys.
that.
Well, look, next week we're gonna check back in with you about training. We're gonna go from there, and then we're gonna keep it rolling.
All right, that's it for us. We'll catch you guys later.
All right,
Later,
guys.
skaters.
Take it easy.